You're a bank, a credit union, an insurer. Your customers are trying to make decisions that involve your products and their money. This could be the decision to get solar and put it on their roof and what the payback period is, or even something as simple as what credit card to give them that they want to get. And what does your organisation give them? Typically something like this, not to pick on Wells Fargo, but a website that helps someone look at the products and try to make a decision using the content. What these people actually want is they want a tool that takes their personal information, runs it through some logic, and then returns that and helps them to understand what product or service is suitable for what they're trying to do. How many of you here can build a basic Excel model? How many of you could code that Excel model? I'm here to show you today how autologic could build a tool to solve that challenge as a Wells Fargo example with no code at all. Autologic is a tool that lets non-technical people build the complex logic to power pretty much any tool or process that you can imagine, either for an external customer or even an internal user. So how do we do it? So you start by building a schema. These are the inputs that are going to be required. So in this case, to work out which card we're going to recommend, we need to know, well, what's the balance on your existing card? Where do you spend and how much in each category, and what your credit is. And you can see there's a whole range of data types here that we support. And in the case of this text one, you can even set the values that are allowed. Next, we're going to need the data that you want to look up and return to the user. Just more data types. You can see here additional things like URLs, like the link to where you're going to apply. Again, all of the data can be defined on the fly, so we're not bound to a particular industry or data type or schema. Now that we've got that in place, we can build the recommendation logic. We start this by building at a group level everything that will apply to these credit cards. So for example, we set the default interest rates for cards in general, the default features, the default fees. And from there, we also then refine this for individual products. So in the case of Wells Fargo, the active cash card has a 2% cashback that you can see here. In the case of the autograph card, it has a 30,000 welcome bonus, which you can see down here. All right, so that's the easy part. Now we're going to build some complex logic. And the way that we do that, initially at the group level, we're going to set some logic to determine, well, what's this customer's personalised rate? So we take that input, the value that they gave us for their credit, and then we set this value here of the personalised rate to be equal to the good credit rate. And then obviously we have a second case here for OK and a second case here for bad. And what happens is that it runs this rule at every individual product level using the individual rates on those products. Our second rule at the group level is to work out the financial impact of those. So how much interest would they avoid paying based on the product that they're looking at, based on their personal rate. We've just daisy-chained that personalised rate from the previous rule and brought it into this second rule. Now we can build the logic for the specific products. So the Wells Fargo card, for example, provides 2% cash back on all your purchases. But you can see here there's different there's cashback rates being applied over the 12 months. However, the autograph card works differently. It provides with points, and those points are based on spend in categories. You can see here we're up-weighting different categories to different amounts. Now, autologic has a built-in test framework, so you can literally build and test your logic as you're building it so that you're not making mistakes, so it's super accurate. All right, so we've got all of the logic for those cards, so now we can see this in action. And so using the inbuilt interface, we can grab a test case here that I've prepared earlier. And we've got a scenario of someone with an $8,000 balance spending a couple of grand on rent. And you can see the interest rates, not that much different. The features are all the same. The fees are all the same. But when we start to get to points and cash, okay, now we can really see the difference between these products. And let's say you live in New York and your rent's actually $6,000 a month, not $2,000 a month. All right, now the difference between these cards really comes into play. Now, this is a really simple example, but a more complex example, like a serviceability calculator, is just the same concept, just with a whole lot more rules and a whole lot more data types. And for anyone who's ever used Excel, you're going to recognise all of these formulas here. It's basically programmatic Excel. In fact, if you can build in Excel, you can build in autologic. You just end up daisy chaining and you have larger, more serious arrays. Now, I'm talking about Excel a lot, but this is actually Java, and it's all running in enterprise single tenancy model in the cloud, which means it's secure and private and scalable. A lot of people ask us, what could you build with autologic? Well, Home Loans has powered every single interface that they've got with autologic. The interface that does home loan search, for example, is powered by autologic. The interfaces that power which documents the customer's going to want, what compliance questions to ask, everything, even including their award-winning loan score tool, all powered by autologic. It allows them to build award-winning tools without having to have all of the development spent on building the back-end code to support them. So how do you get it live? Well, it's pretty straightforward. The only thing that your engineers need to do is they just need to be able to send and receive a small JSON payload, a little bit like this one. So really you're only limited by your imagination in terms of what you're building. And because there's no customer data stored on autologic, it's literally just a way of getting your data, running your logic and returning it. Your risk people are going to be happy as well. So where to from here? I've illustrated today a use case that involves building a customer-facing tool, but even talking to people today in the conference, it's clear that there's use cases as well for internal tools and even back-end processes. And so I'd like you to think of it as a tool that solves the problem when something you'd love to build but you don't have the engineering bandwidth, or the person who understands the logic, it can't code. Autologic has a role to play in both of those moments. So if you want to come out and learn more and talk to me about the use case that you've got in mind, we'll see you out in the demo. Thanks a lot.